Welcome to the place where we can talk about TV shows. To kick off this channel, I thought we could talk about the last episode I got around to watching, which was Game of Thrones Season 3, Episode 7, The Bear and the Maiden Fair. This episode was actually written by George R.R. Martin himself, who gets one writing credit per season. Last season it was Blackwater, which was an amazing episode. This episode, some people are actually calling the worst episode of Game of Thrones to date. Not me though. First of all, it's important to note that Season 3 is different than the other two seasons as far as pacing goes. This season is a bit slower. It's driven more by dialogue than action scenes. In this season, we generally get less action and less, well, porn. I can imagine the Game of Thrones producers just sitting and watching the last season of Spartacus and going like, well, they seem to have pretty much every possible sex scene covered. We're gonna go ahead and take it down a notch. But seriously though, at this rate, the actual porn industry is going out of business soon. To matters at hand, the bear and the maiden fair, where a maiden not so fair has to fight a bear. And also, Jamie is there. Let me warn you, if you haven't watched the episode yet, you might not want to continue beyond this point. So this episode was more about character building moments and the transformation of characters than anything else. First, let's have a look at the Snowies, who in the previous episode officially changed their Facebook status from "it's complicated" to "in a relationship." Now they're on the other side of the wall, and Jon is the one who knows shit, while Ygritte mistakes a windmill for a palace. Now, I generally really like the whole Jon and Ygritte story arc, the banter and the jabs they take at each other. The thing I really didn't care for is how fast their relationship is moving. It went from hate you, kinda like you, sex in a cave, you are mine and I am yours forever. So now that they're officially boyfriend-girlfriend, Jon is confident enough to tell Ygritte that attacking is a bad fucking idea. And he says, if you attack, you will die. And I thought it was a bit strange how quickly, after she corrects him to we and us, she hugs him and kisses him and goes back to the whole you are mine and I'm yours forever and ever kind of thing. Probably to show us how much they're both in denial about the whole relationship, because Jon will eventually have to betray her. But I still expected a bit more hesitation from her. Still pretty powerful stuff. Cut to Robb and Talisa's asses. Talk about their asses for a bit. Robb is going on about how he can't lead the war effort with all of this ass just flying around, and we're going like, well, yeah. And also they have a child on the way, congratulations, and Talisa is writing a letter in Valyrian, and we're going, writing to your mother, you say? I always write a letter to my mom just after I finish having sex. Also asses. The Red Lady and Gendry are on a boat, motherfucker, and it seems that Gendry is being treated well, more like a guest than a prisoner, and he's not making any effort to get away or anything. They sail by Blackwater Bay and they see all of the shipwrecks from the battle in a really artistic, beautiful scene. Melisandre tells Gendry who he really is. And Gendry's like, bitch, you playing. Paraphrasing. Now, I actually forgot about this very important plot point. It was revealed in the last season that Gendry was actually Robert Baratheon's son, and he's another contender for the Iron Throne. And I follow the show pretty carefully, so that's saying something. I mean, a slow-moving plot is a good thing, but it does take its toll. So in my least favorite story arc of the whole series, Daenerys is now basically Spartacus. She's liberating slaves and they serve her as free men and women, but they're still kind of slaves, right? While meeting with the guy from the city she's about to conquer, she's introduced as the breaker of chains, among other things. She did that once. And now she's the breaker of chains? You fuck one sheep, right? The emissary tries to pay her off, but she's all like, I can't hear you over the fact that I have dragons. And it's getting kind of old, actually, but I guess that's her thing. Anyway, I don't really care for it, and also she's probably the worst performer in the whole series. The Walking Dead had Andrea, and well, she's not as bad as Andrea. Everyone's favorite character, Arya, is now for the first time completely alone, living in a cave with the Brotherhood without banners, after Gendry's been taken away by the Red Lady. I freaking loved this scene. With one word, they completed Arya's transformation to fucking cold badass who will probably murder everyone in the future. Beric's like, "What god do you worship?" And Arya says, "Your mom!" Just kidding. Death. The first chance she gets, she bails, and the Hound picks her up in the woods. I actually see a good pair there. It's like in Friends. Everyone has to be with everyone eventually. Many times in these shows, you see a storyline that just kind of makes you go, This is my general reaction to every Theon Greyjoy scene in this season so far. I'm just not sure what they're going for, but maybe the big reveal will be worth it. So the kid from the Misfits arranges this whole cheesy porn scene where two girls come over to Theon and they're like, "Hello, we heard that you have a penis. We would like to see this penis and put it in our mouths. Also, other places." Then when Theon gets up and about, the kid shows up and cuts off his man bits, or so it's implied. Probably setting us up for Theon's big revenge storyline or whatever. Didn't really care for this scene. It seemed a bit rushed and kind of out of place. Also, asses, Mr. Martin, you dirty old man. So now we're up to the Bran part of the story, or the part you just wait for Hodor to say Hodor, and then you can go to the bathroom or whatever. It's basically the same scene we get in every episode so far, only this time Osha tells a heart-wrenching story about how her ex became a walker and tried to kill her. I was glad to get the backstory for this character, now we can understand her motivations better, but the performance was a bit soapy for me. Back in King's Landing, first get the two sides of the story and the whole Tyrion has to marry Sansa deal. We first see Sansa and Marge taking a stroll and talking about the whole marriage. Sansa is kind of worried about the sexual part of things. Now Marge is actually one of my favorite characters of this season because Natalie Dormer does a fantastic job of making it look like Marge is always after something else than what she's actually saying. She tells Sansa that maybe Tyrion is not so bad because he's been around. His penis has traveled many places. Also asses. Afterwards, the part with Shay the funny whore is every scene with Shay the funny whore. We get it. No one will be sad to see you die eventually. Joffrey is hanging out on the Iron Throne and he summons up Grandpa, the Hand. It seems that Joffrey has reached a point where he actually wants to do some kinging. He wants to get in on the politics and on the action, and not just shoot prostitutes with crossbows and generally be the least liked character of all time. Grandpa, being the imposing figure that he is, just kind of shrugs him off. Now it was great to see Joffrey being put in his place, especially after Cersei's been saying so many times that it can't be done. But I also thought it was great that the one time he actually has something relevant and potentially important to say when he expresses concern about the girl with the dragons, he's being completely ignored. Finally, we get to Brienne and Jaime, where Jaime turns the convoy around to go back for Brienne after he realizes that they're not going to release her. When he gets back, he sees that instead of raping her or just abusing her, they actually put her up against a bear and gave her only a wooden sword. One of the things I always appreciated about the show is how much they enforce the creeds of every house. Because of the fact that Jaime has a debt to Brienne, he will do anything to protect her because a Lannister always pays his debts. Jaime jumps into the pit to help Brienne with her old bear situation, and then they immediately get rescued out of the pit so that Jaime will not be hurt. He then proceeds to throw his father's name around some more to get Brienne to tag along to King's Landing. The moment where Jaime jumps into the pit to save Brienne is yet another character-defining moment in this episode. It marks the complete transformation from Jaime the smug douchebag to Jaime the somewhat honorable, okay person. All in all, this wasn't an action-packed episode, but it was a story well told, with some great character-building moments. It wasn't the best episode, I generally liked it, although I do think with only 3 more episodes to go, they do have to pick up the pace a bit. In my eyes, Season 1 was still the best season to date. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, and I would love to hear your feedback and your opinions about the show in the comment section, and I will see you next time. Also asses.